Hold on. Why is it? There we go. Ooh, boy, the problems don't stop. Right? What's going on, everybody? How's everybody? What's going on, men of greatness? How you doing? So let's get to it. A lot of times your self-esteem plays an important part in who you date, what you decide to do with your life, anything, right? But let's talk about what's the most important thing, relationships, and what that means. Usually when you have a high level of self-esteem, you pretty much go for the gusto as far as who you're with and what you decide to do with. But when you have a low self-esteem, you tend to just deal with whatever. You tolerate stuff. Let's look at the women. I'm gonna show the comments. Oh yeah. So let's look at the women. Let's look at the women for a minute. Women, when they have low self-esteem, it's almost, this is crazy. They go to academia. They excel in structured things, right? They excel in school. They excel at school, all that stuff, right? They excel at school. They excel at things that are mechanical. Things are structured. School, degrees in anything. They excel. They stop at nothing to be high-performing people, high successful people. But here's where they fall short. They fall short when it comes down to dating. This is why you'll see someone like my homegirl who extremely successful, has two doctorates. She has 2 doctorates, a master's degree, obviously, bachelor's degree, and make well over 6, not even, I mean, she's past the 6 figures mark, right? Failed miserably at relationships. She failed miserably at relationships because she can't win at life. Because winning at life and winning at this thing with involving humans requires a healthy dose and a good dose of esteem. She doesn't have it. She has a tumultuous relationship with her mother. So the relationship with her mother is not great. So because of that, she struggles, right? She struggles. Thank y'all so much for the gifts. Make sure y'all get them likes up. Hit that like button. She struggles. So the dude that she married, and she still continues, she's married to today, all intents and purposes is a bum. He's a bum. Why is he a bum, Joe? Well, I'll tell you. He's a bum because he just got out of prison. I mean, he just got out of prison. He's been out of prison. He can't hold a job. He doesn't have the aspirations of a great man. He feels as though because of what he's been through, and this is where self-esteem plays a part in men, because of what he's been through, that affords him to take from everybody because he has an entitlement, because he stays in his feelings. Men with low self-esteem stay in their feelings all the time. Hey, what's up, CC? What's going on? How you doing? Men with low self-esteem tend to stay in their feelings all the time, right? And because they're always in an emotional state, because they haven't developed emotional understanding, they tend to gravitate towards the private. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe that they can make it. They don't believe that they can be out there and do greatness. Now, that's one extreme where they go to gangs, they go to whatever because they can be influenced, right? They can be easily influenced by crazy shit and by reckless stuff. The reckless lifestyle is beautiful to them. It's a thing to them. They want to be in it. They look at people who don't go to jail, who don't do gangster stuff, who don't do stupid stuff like that. They look at them as squares, right? When it's the exact opposite. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to get out here in the streets. But when you have low self-esteem as a man, you don't believe in yourself, right? You don't believe in yourself. You don't believe that you can be the best version of yourself. You don't believe that you can become You don't believe that you can become the greatest you can be. So a lot of men, here's the thing. Let's close out with the men. A lot of men are targeted for that. So a lot of men become targets because a lot of them, what they do is people target them. Now, it's an extreme to go to jail, but let's talk about the people who don't, the men who don't. The men who don't, they're the ones that listens to buzzwords and they become servants, right? They become servants to a woman. And because they become a servant to the woman, they don't never put themselves first, and this what makes them angry, right? Right? All right, let me close it out. You want me? I'm gonna have to close this out and come back in here, right? So they become servants. Is that better? Hey, what's up, Nicole? How you doing? How you doing, Nicole? I'm about to close all this stuff out, right? They become servants to people. These men are not masters of their own domain. These men never conquer anything because they were given a dose of fear, right? How you doing? I hope you're doing well, right? They've been given a healthy dose of fear. So what ends up happening is people tend to exploit these men. You see, and they're good men, but they're good men by default. You see, they're good men by default. They're not good men because they actually experience the world. Their self-esteem is so incredibly low that they will mimic whatever you want them to be. If you want them to be a masculine man, a pretentious masculine man who fake in front like he's masculine, he gonna be that. If you want him to be a soft man, be all this, he will be that. He will never be himself, right? This is the thing that happens to men dealing with low self-esteem. They become servants and not the master. You know these type of men because they never take risks, because they're afraid, because they don't believe in themselves. And a lot of people exploit these type of men. A lot of these men, at the end of all of it, they get so fed up with life that they start to become incels, and they start to say, I don't want to deal with anything, because they can't find the answer, right? Because they think the answer is always serving. They serving. When that's not the answer, they never find themselves. With women, it's the same thing, but in a different terms. Women tend to date down because of their self-esteem level. Because they feel, a lot of women don't feel as though there's a man on their level, right? They feel as though there's never a man in it, which is it's bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. What really that is I'm afraid that this person may not like me, right? This person may not like me. This person may not like who the person I show, because they always show a representative. And women are entitled to show their representative because it's a defense mechanism. You know what I'm saying? It's a way where women protect themselves. So they're going to show you this person to be able to kind of sort of ward you off, because they don't want to be with certain men who will hurt them. So what do? They tend to show a little arrogance, show a little this, show this and that, which is all a defense mechanism, right? When women deal with low self-esteem, they feel as though that they don't deserve a quality man, because one, they probably never seen one, but they also feel as though I don't deserve this. My self-esteem is so low. So with a man who is from the streets, from the block, like my homegirl, he represents something very familiar to him, right? He represents something very familiar to her because she recognizes that type of man. So she's comfortable in it. So now she's comfortable with this dude, not understanding that all the other things, that the qualities of a man, are necessary for him to grow. See, a lot of women don't understand how men grow, right? And how men are created, right? How how men have to master themselves, how men have to go through trials and sometimes self-trials to be able to be great. So what women think is in their mind, what their girlfriends tell them, what their mother tell them, everything else is factual about a man. It's not true. And what ends up happening is they go to their comfort level, which is low self-esteem. And low self-esteem plays an important part on how women are. Let me give you an example. Think about this for a second, right? How does a woman have a master's degree, a doctor's degree, 2 doctorate degrees, highly educated, all these degrees and everything else, fall for the games and the tricks of a man that haven't even graduated high school? How is that? Why would you even deal with that? Why? Because of low self-esteem. It breeds certain things. It breeds, I want to feel better than. I want to feel above than. I want to suffer. Like I said, I don't know what that word is. I don't know if it's masochist or sadist. I don't know, whatever that word is where you want to punish yourself. Women deal with that. Women live in a perpetual shame and guilt. That's why that's why you see they're the first to target by anybody. Even relationship people, the first thing they go for is women's mind. They go for women's minds because women are always in a perpetual sack. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that word right there, Matt Doctorson. I wish you can just tell me what that word is. I need to hear you say it. I'm doing well, Brandy. How you doing today? Thank you so much for the gifts. So women live in always a perpetual shame and guilt. That's why masochism. Yeah, thank you so much. Right? They live in that. That's why when you say something to them, if you notice, especially when women who have a low self-esteem, they can't hear nothing that is not about a man. If it's not about men-ish, they don't want to hear it. Masochism. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you for that, Nicole. I really do appreciate you doing that for me. I really do. They can't have their own mind when it comes down to that. So that's why they can't hear anything that doesn't sound like they're not the best. It's because they live in a perpetual shame and guilt all the time. They always have to feel the need to express or be expressive. As soon as you say, well, I disagree with that, the first thing they do, they shock, they upset. These are women who have low self-esteem. They can't hear anything that doesn't resonate with their emotions, right? Because the world lies to women. Let's be clear. The world lies to women all day, each and every day. It lies to women. So when women are dealing with low self-esteem, that guy that's done the work on himself. Hey, what's up, Laura? How you doing, beautiful? Hey, what's going on, sis? What's going on, sis? She matters. So that guy that has low self-esteem. I mean, that lady, that woman that has low self-esteem, she sees the guy who's polished. She sees the guy who has his shit together, and she immediately inserts something to dismiss herself and make herself feel good. Y'all know what I'm talking about. They say, oh, he's a little sassy because he stands up for himself. Oh, he's not allowing me to say certain things to him because he stands up for himself. Yeah, he's not. Oh, he don't date. He date YT women, right? You hear these things. Women will dismiss themselves all the time from a quality man. And then they will go get something that makes them feel familiar from wherever they came from. So they'll go get a guy who's from the hood, who ain't initiated in life, and life don't even know they exist. And they will be with him with the hopes of thinking that he will honor them. That's why you see them after 5, 10, 15 years or 20 years, they finally get a divorce because then they move on and they become content creators, right? The next thing you know, they become content creators, become, talking all day because their mind is trapped, right? Their mind is trapped. They can't get out of that low self-esteem. He says, I've been blessed. I've been a life coach. So I agree with what you're saying. So thank you so much. Let's hold on. Let me see if you still agree. So this is the reason why you see a lot of women, they can't handle the conversation if it's not about something about that makes them feel good. If you say, well, you know, women do this, the first thing they say is not all. I don't want to be included in that because it triggers them because something inside of it instantly went to when they did whatever you're talking about. Right? Not all, but they'll say anything else. There's nothing wrong with that. But they need something to always be compartmentalized. They either need to be excluded or included. So what is the top? What is the problem with low self-esteem? Low self-esteem governs how people date. It governs how people date. It governs what people believe in themselves. It fuels a lot of people's procrastination. It makes people feel as though they are trapped in a bubble, right? They don't believe in themselves a lot of times. So a lot of times people tend to hold on. A lot of times people tend to just, like I said, dismiss themselves when it comes down to dating someone, right? They'll find something. Look at the a great example is Pop the Balloon. A man comes and says his standards. All of a sudden, oh, you're not supposed to say that. That makes I feel dismissive. Look how women are when they come in and they get their people start popping their balloons. You start to see the woman gets offensive and she's like, oh, why? Because in women's eyes, I'm always someone's prize. I'm always your prize. This is the delusion. This is where the low self-esteem tells them they for everybody. They don't know, they don't think about exclusivity. That, hey, I'm not somebody's cup of tea. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Well, I'm everybody's cup of tea. I'm everybody's shot glass. So whatever women say, right? I'm everybody's this. I'm all this. I'm that. I'm this and this and that. You know what I'm saying? Right? You know, he says I'm not any human being's prize. I'm with you on that one, Lori. I'm nobody's prize. I'm like, I ain't nobody's object. You right there. I'm not nobody's object to obtain. But this is what people do. When you have low self-esteem, you think like that. Like I be asking women all the time, how you be walking around thinking you some prize? Why would you even like you some object with something like that? Why would you want that? Don't you want to know what it feels like to be on your own? Don't you know what you feel like to get what you got to get? Well, why would you want that? But this is a mentality. When women start to invest in their esteem and invest in themselves, they start to realize a lot of things, right? They start to realize that everything they've been taught was a prison. This is why you see that, right? You think about it. How can I watched the video? Hold on. I watched the video where, hey, what's up, Heat? And I'll get to our questions in a minute. I see them coming in, brother. Matt, if you could just pick out the ones you want me to do, that'll be cool. So this is why you see a lot of women when you look at them and when you listen to them, you can listen to them and it's all hype me up stuff. You know, hype me up stuff. And this is why you see a lot of people. I'll get to your Laura, I'll get to your thing in a minute, right? Thank you so much for the thank you so much for the gifts. I appreciate you. I'll get to y'all in a minute. Make sure y'all keep hitting that like button. This is why you see a lot of women, they will downgrade. It was a thing that this lady said that men usually upgrade, women usually downgrade. And she cited Jeff Bezos' ex-wife and how she dated a man, a school teacher, which I don't see nothing wrong with that, right? But the metric and the metric that they use to judge her by is he make $55,000 a year. She's a billionaire. What in the world can top that? What billionaire is going to want her? So she found someone who loved her. you know, and I don't know if they're still together or not or whatever the case may be, but she found someone who loved her, right? This is where it comes from. So we listen to women. If we listen to women long enough, but just not even women, we're going to talk about men in a minute, right? They tend to seek out those guys who are impressed with certain things. Like my homegirl, let's say, like I said, let's go back over, right? She just came in the room. What's going on? She has degrees, two doctorate degrees, master's degree, obviously, two bachelor's degrees, right? She make well over 300,000 a year, well over. You know, I think she close to four, right? After whatever. So she made close to 4,000 a year, 400,000 a year, right? She's up there. She's in the top 1% of people, right? A man, you know, okay, let me help you out, right? So a man would be impressed with, he would be impressed with, he would be impressed with the big house, the car, all this, right? He would be impressed with that because this man suffers from low self-esteem. So the guy she dated, the guy she's married, got out of jail. Last job I remember him having is Walmart, and he wanted to fight the guy and got banned from Walmart because he wanted to fight the guy because he told him stop coming in late, right? Told him stop coming in late. She was okay with this guy, you know. She loved him, you know. Even though this man just was terrible, he gave her 2 STDs. He made a child out of wedlock, right? She's still with him to this day. She's still with him to this day. Why? Low self-esteem. She's an absolutely gorgeous woman. You know, she says, Joe, you know, I take my vows seriously because she's never been married before, right? So she take them seriously. Kudos to her. But he ain't shit. He ain't shit. So why did she end up with him? Backstory. She has a very uncomfortable relationship with her mother. She was put down an awful lot all her life. And when she turned 18 and when she got a scholarship, she never looked back. And she grind and grind and grind. She ended up going for her doctorate because she couldn't find a job. So she said, I don't need to leave school. So because she could stay on campus while she was in school, she did it. She grind until she ended up blowing up, and she did. So, but she never developed and she never worked on her esteem. You know what I'm saying? She never worked on her esteem. She never worked on becoming a better version of herself. She never did. So because of that, she ended up being stuck. And that's what usually happens, right? You end up, when you have low self-esteem, you have a high tolerance. And I remember I told this story before. I remember when I was out there, after my wife left me. I remember dating this young lady who just yelled at me, right? And I remember one time I was picking her up. I told the story before. I picked her up, right? And I picked her up, and she was late because she didn't know what to wear. So we was late for the show. Then while we was late, we were looking for a parking space, and she slapped me in the back of my head. And I sat there, and I'll never forget what I felt. I felt as if I deserved this. I felt like I deserved it, man. And because I felt like I deserved it, I was okay with it. My tolerance was so high. That's what I mean by when your self-esteem is low, your tolerance gets wild. Do you think a woman achieves as much and yet still also has low self-esteem? Yes. Here's the thing. The way women tackle their trauma is different from a man. What do I mean? Let's take two people. Let's take a brother and sister, right? James and Jill. They both come from the hood. Both have terrible parents, right? And you see this play out in movies all the time. Both have terrible parents. Both going through some crazy stuff, grew up in the hood, right? Both of them have crazy parents. Both of them grew up in the hood. James stays true to the roots because the trauma settled in with him where he's like, no, I need to please my mama. I need to please my daddy. I don't want to leave. Jill say, hey, listen, soon as I see a break for the door, I'm gone. And she stops at nothing to become successful. She turns 18. She get that piece of paper in her hand. She grinding, getting straight A's in school, doing whatever she needs to do because she getting up out of here, man. She's getting up out of here. She's like, I'm done. I'm not taking this. And she's never looking back. My homegirl was like that. My homegirl told her mother, this is no joke. My homegirl told her mother, I'll see you at your funeral. She was 18. That woman never laid eyes on her grandkids. Never physically laid eyes on her grandkids. Straight up. Never seen her grandkids. Passed away. She ended up getting cancer. She haven't seen one of her daughters in 38 years. The last time she laid eyes on her daughter was 18. Put a pin in that. I'm gonna use a real life story, right? Her brothers, right? All stayed in DC, became drunks, became alcoholics, strung out on drugs, stayed in the hood. The two sisters, as soon as they turned 18, they was out of there. Crazy, successful, did what they needed to do, they're gone. Gone. She came back, I think her mother passed away about 2 years ago, right after COVID hit, right? She got really sick and passed away. That is when we seen her. I took my mother to the funeral, and that's when she showed up, right? With her kids and her grandkids. This mother had never laid eyes on her children. She didn't even know she was a great grandmother. That's the difference between what a woman would do. Women mash on the gas of success to get out of whatever trauma. But here's the problem, though. Through that, she never developed in self. She never developed in the ways of self-mastery, right? She never developed things in her life where she can be able to become a better version of herself. So she took a lot of hits when it came down to relationships, right? She became crazy successful on paper and everything mechanical and structurally. But when it came down to relationships, she was terrible. She had terrible men in her life. She was in a very abusive relationship. Then she was in an abusive marriage. And then she finally found a great man. But it took a while, right? Because a lot of times she had to know what love is. And a lot of people don't love themselves so they can recognize it in other people, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense, Nicole. So because in order for you to recognize the love that somebody gets, you got to do it for yourself. And she didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times she messed up. She dated what was familiar to her, right? She dated what was familiar to you. Your esteem will always go out and get something familiar. And that's what she did. She went and got something very familiar to her. And these were weak men. because this is what she recognized. She didn't recognize love, and she didn't recognize patience. Her husband now is a very patient man. He's a very loving man. She's a very caring man. But when did she meet him? She met him outside of I think she was outside of the gym or something like that, or working on herself. So when she started to be on her healing journey, he was on his. He was very supportive of hers. He was a little bit more advanced. She was. He developed patience for her. So he loved on her, but in the beginning, she was honest. She didn't recognize what the love was. She couldn't recognize it because she's never given herself love. She was always on the go because she was chasing what? What was she running from? The trauma. She was running from the trauma that has plagued her. Because when you got to think about it, and this is anybody, right? This is anybody. I went in the military because of the trauma, right? I wanted to get out of DC. My mother was terrible to me. So what did I do? I left. I said, I'm out. And when I came back, it was only a month before I moved out again, right? I've been out on my own since I was 16. So when as a woman, what is priority? I got to raise these children. I got to figure out how to make the most money so my kids don't go through what I need to go through. But you still want to think that you can meet some people. So you think that being aggressive and being masculine, or like the men, what do you men say? Women are masculine and all this. Being aggressive and being all of this is what is needed. Because you want to make sure nobody tell you whatever, right? And it worked because she got a weak man. But because she didn't understand and distinguish between a man that doesn't put himself first, she thought all the pleasantries and all the games and everything else was cool because it's familiar. Who played more games than anybody in the hood? Who hit you with the baby, I'm this and that, than anybody in the hood? We got songs about it, thug love, hood love, right? We have these type of songs to tell you because it's the passion in there, because this is all we have, right? So it was familiar to her. She'd never seen a man who puts himself first and goes to the gym, works out. I remember she told me one time that she said, Joe, I was outside of his house one day because I didn't believe that he was actually going to the gym. I thought he was pretending, right? So I was outside of his house. When hey, what's going on? What's going on, line? How you doing, growth girl? How you doing? That's one of my lines, one of my favorites. That graduated my course. So when you have low self-esteem as a woman, you're going to be with those type of men because those men feel safe. A lot of women think that men in the hood are the most men who have some gangster about them, some edge about you are tough. They're not. It's a perception. It's peacocking. So a lot of women will go with this because it looks familiar. I even did. When I was in a bad place, when you are a broken place and when you're in a bad place mentally, you're always going to go back to something that's familiar to you. Right? That's just not. You're going to revert back to a child. You're going to revert back to the inner child, and the inner child runs and escapes. Right? Excuse me. Hold on. Runs and escapes. So it runs and escapes. That's what a child does. So that's what you do as a child. When you get hurt, you run and you escape. And is there something wrong with that? Yes, it is. Because I think that the best method is to stand up to whatever you're facing. I don't care what it is. Stand up to that shit. Face it. Because if you face it, you get so much reward from it. Right? But I digress. But when it comes down to women, their success, they think their success defines who they are, and they never do the work on the things that are really in priority. And then when they slow down in life, that's when it hit them. When they realize, man, wow, hold on. I don't know how to love. Like in my course, a lot of women don't know how a man is truly to love them. when they get in my course, when they go through my course, it's like they're shocked because I love them. And I talk to them and I educate them and I teach them. And I teach them about the world and I teach them the things that other people want to lie to them. Look, let me show you. And I don't want no puss from them. I don't date none of them. I don't want none of them. Right? I'm doing it out of genuine love. And most of the time, I'm the first man they ever met who not trying to sleep with them. So they're confused. A lot of times it hurts them. A lot of times they got to go through some painstaking tasks. So a lot of times that you see them in their vulnerable state, and I'm not trying to take advantage of them. I'm probably the first man that ever did that. Right? So when we look at women, let's go back to it. So when we look at women who are trying their best to complete that side of relationship, because that's the most important part to me. These people who are talking about stay alone, stay by yourself, y'all, I don't know what they're doing. They just did the longest study. Harvard did the longest study, and they said the most important thing to longevity is your relationships with your children, relationships with each other, your relationships, right? That the people who die early are the people who are by themselves. That's just a fact. That's not something we need a study for. We know this. We've seen this, right? How many of us grew up in the hood and we heard Mr. Charlie or Miss Ann, the meanest woman on the block, and the next thing you know, they rolling her out there. We're rolling her out there because she passed away or because he passed away. We all grew up with that. I did. We had a lady who used to put aluminum foil on the windows, and if you made any noise, she called the cops. She passed away, and no one knew. No one knew. And the only time that anybody really knew was because when you walk past the house, it was stinking, and somebody called the police, and they did the wellness check, and she was in there and passed away. Right? So relationships do matter, and it's nothing wrong with a person who wants to be in a relationship. But we have this thing, we have this thing where we want to stop that. Right? There's nothing wrong. I want to be married again. I'm going to be married again. That's not going to stop. Nobody on the internet is going to tell me that that's not going to happen or this and that, or I'm not going to. I don't believe nothing nobody tells me. But let's get back to Nicole's question. But a lot of times women will supplement everything as success and get all these tangible things and say, this is what defines me. Now I'm this man. And they go get a lesser man who is attracted to shiny things. He doesn't have his own. And he is malleable. He can make sure I'm saying that word right, malleable. He can be formed. And they're okay with that. Because they think this is a man. Because yes, dear. Yes, dear. It's the most dangerous man in the world. And they go lower than themselves because a lot of them don't believe that they can get a quality man. A lot of women who are successful don't believe that they can get one man. They don't believe they can. Which that's heartbreaking. But because they are judging based on structural things like degrees and all this and money, money is important, You got to have somebody that can be able to earn. But when it comes down to character, they don't look at character. They haven't developed that part of love yet. So a lot of people, they end up being with the lesser version of a man. I hope I answered that question. But yeah, we're going to be leaving in 15 minutes. All right, let me ask you the question in the group. Okay, Matt. He said, in men, what is the difference in men, in your opinion, what is the difference between low self-esteem in men in comparison to a woman? Thank you for that question. All right, let me tell you what the difference is. Men, recluse. A lot of times you see low self-esteem play out in a certain different ways. You get with the overly aggressiveness. A lot of men who have low self-esteem, they combat it with overly aggressiveness. They think they want to be tough. They want to be the toughest joke in the room. They get easily intimidated by people who get more attention than them, right? A lot of times they end up always want to be some alpha. They call themselves alpha dog and alpha this and that because they want to be that guy, and they never was. They do a lot of lying. A lot of times when that's on one extreme, right? That's the extreme where we get to see, right? I'm not going to name any names. They lack discipline all the time, right? So they lack discipline all the time. Those are the ones that we get to see. Those are the ones that gravitate towards reckless behavior, right? And you know that. And when they're dating, here's the crazy thing. Men with low self-esteem is backwards. You got one extreme where their dates being lowered because they feel as though they don't deserve a quality woman. And another ones that will seek out actually successful women. Yeah, it's crazy. That's one extreme. Now let's go to the other side. They are completely broken. They don't care. They will sit and just give them a couch. They become servants and not the master. They don't put themselves first. I wish I had a picture of me when I was married. I wonder if I can go on. They become overly overweight. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about they don't care about their appearance anymore. They're done. They find a woman who does everything for them. Everything for them. It's sad, man. They tend to how can I phrase this so y'all can get it? They tend to act very cowardly. I don't know other way to say it. And what I mean by that is they don't never tell the women what they feel. They'll call their friends and yell at the phone and say whatever instead of going home to that woman and standing up for themselves. They have limitless tolerance. You see it all the time. I mean, if you see it you go on YouTube or you go anywhere, they always seek out punishment, right? Always, right? They believe that their success is to give to someone else. They're easily defined by whatever relationship they're in. They're easily defined by the amount of things they have. They never go for their dreams or their vision. They don't have any visions and they don't have any dreams. Whatever dreams they have, it's defined by whatever that woman wants them to do. They're very controlled, right? They give up. Those are the guys that welcome death. They're like, look, doctor tell them they got something, they ain't telling nobody. They silently just don't want to be here no more. You know, they don't want to be here no more. Those are the men that usually you hear it all the time. Like, he'll die, and like, he was a good man. He always was there for someone. Anybody needed him, he'll give them the shirt off their back. He'll do things for them and all this other stuff. And knowing damn well he ain't putting himself first. He can't survive that way, right? Survive. A lot of men are that way, and they become bitter. They become secretly bitter because they're never appreciated. But that's what they go seek out, though, right? They seek out people who will never appreciate them. They're good men. They're great men, but they don't believe in themselves, right? They don't believe in themselves. They feel as though that the world don't owe them nothing. They owe everybody else. He said, "That's how I'm that. I understand, and I hope you change your life, man. while we're doing this podcast, I hope you really change your life because I'm here. This is the reason why I'm here. You shouldn't have to be that way because imagine what type of woman you're going to attract and imagine what type of woman you're going to be. A lot of women get you as a man, and I'm not trying to single you out, brother, but a lot of women get you as a man, and it is an uphill battle for a woman to actually pull you up, man. Pull you up from being beat down by another woman. And that's not fair to a woman, brother. And I'm talking to you. Nobody can see who you are, brother. So it's nobody can see you are, but I'm talking to you. A lot of times women get with good men who have low self-esteem, and they have to pour into this man, and it's almost exhausting sometimes because they have to fix everything that another woman broke. Yeah, another woman broke because you're so afraid to being hurt because your heart probably can't take another hurt, man. And you stayed alone for so long because a lot of times, especially men stay alone the wrong way. And what do I mean by it? We end up becoming on two extremes. You know, I like to talk about my extremes. You have one extremes, woman leave you, next thing you know, you could become homebound. You out here, anything move, you out here tearing it up. You out here just, it don't care what it is, because you're running from hurt. You're running from being in pain. So anything move, you gonna go out here. You ain't never stayed committed and faithful to no woman, no nothing, because you just scared. So you run from being hurt again. That's what most men do, right? Until you run out of gas. You know what I'm saying? Until you get tired of that shit. Right? But a lot of times you leave a lot of hurt women and great women in your path. On the side road, they just broken on your path. You break a lot of women going that way. Or you have the other extreme, which I think you are, brother. You end up saying, that's it for me, man. And women, and then a woman get with you and she has to clean up another woman's mess because you're so inherently broken. And you didn't put the work in yourself. See, here's the thing. You have to understand, society lied to you and told you you're not putting yourself first is the right thing to do as a man, that you're supposed to be a servant, right? I'm sure you probably go to church and you probably help, aid, and volunteer and do all that stuff in church, right? See, he said, yeah, okay, exactly. You do all that stuff. You do all that stuff in church, and you do all those things in church, man. You're a servant, never the master. Why don't you just say no? You think it's because you're serving God. And I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that, but is it something where you can be able to do for yourself, right? You could do for yourself. And a lot of men don't do that. You look for women to serve. Here's the key. A quality woman who put the work in herself, especially a healed woman, when she's already healed, she put the work in. Not these people who still on their journey, man, who just talking. But people who really systematically really do the work on themselves, right? I want to be clear with you. Those women don't want you to put them first. They actually have a team building mindset, not building anything. If you're in your 20s, okay, you meet somebody, y'all building your life together. Because ain't nobody can expect no 20-year-old to have their shit together. But, you know, judging by your picture, you're a man of a certain age, right? So they're expecting, those women are not expecting for you to put them first. Those women, brother, are expecting for you to be able to just at least give them something to work on, where it's your life is somewhat on a cruise control. But a lot of men in their 40s and 50s, man, they're not there. They're finished. So by the time the woman gets in their life, the woman has to clean up another person's mess. So a woman has to spend the first 3 to 4 years of their relationship trying to figure out, trying to clean up and prove to you she ain't a cheater. She's not out here. She's put the work in, trying to understand your feelings, your emotions, and everything. And that's fine, right? But why does she have to do that? She doesn't even get a chance to get to your heart until she proved herself after 3 to 4 years. So now 3 to 4 years is just wasted. It's just a wash, right? Right. What back in the day, what we used to have, ladies and gentlemen, when you used to have what was that phrase we used to have when you had to do 1 week in a hole, right? Like we used to do back in the day, right before we got all electronic, where you had to do 3 weeks or put 1 week in a hole before you got your paycheck. So you used to go 3 weeks without getting your paycheck, right? Because of enrollment, right? Payroll, right? So now she got to do 3 years before she get a payout get a payout from your love and get you to understand, because some woman you invested in that you shouldn't have been with, you put that time in. And we all been there, man. I'm not talking from a place of judgment. I'm talking from a place of experience. And so now a person has to go through all that crap to be there. And I got to be real with you, man. A lot of healed people, that goes for women and men, are not going to do that. I'm one of them. I'm not going to do, I don't have that patience, because what I'm going to tell you what happens. And this is why it's important for you to get on your healing journey and get to it and finish it, right? Real talk, and finish it. Finish your healing journey. It's important for you to do that and work on it and complete. And thank y'all so much for the gifts. It's because when you start to heal, your tolerance becomes extremely low. I'm dead serious. Your tolerance becomes extremely low. You're not as tolerant of things, right? I don't have the patience the way I do anymore. The moment I see something that looks like I'm going to have to deal with it in the future, I'm going to have to get rid of you. And I'm very, very big about that. I'll get rid of a lot of people in my life, right? So I encourage you, brother, to don't waste no time. Don't waste no time, because it's not fair to the woman who's going to love on you, bro. Because the next woman who loves on you shouldn't have to deal with another woman's mess. It's just as well as you don't want to deal with another man's mess, man. So I hope that helped. Right? Another question. Okay, let me get that question. Then I'm gonna have to shut down, man. And if they want, they can come over to TikTok. I'll be back tomorrow for you, for your regular thing. Okay. Okay. So what you saying that women date Pookies and Ray Rays out? So what you saying? Women date Pookies and Ray Rays because they have low self-esteem? Yes, I'm saying that. Why would a woman? Think about this for a second, man. What person? And let's put an age demographic on this, right? Because in your 20s, you're gonna make dumb decisions, man. You know, you can't expect 20s are for that. I believe society gives you a grace period between 18 and 28, right? And you get a pause for 2 years for you to realize, but by the time 30, you should have a pretty much grasp on some things, right? Yes, I'm saying that. Now, if you up in your 40s, what 40-year-old, let's talk about 40s, let's say 35-year-old and up would date a man who is uninitiated and you are successful and whatever, because the reality, the life don't work on love, man, right? This world is ever changing, and right now we're in a bad time. So what person, what woman who doesn't suffer from low self-esteem would actually date a man that live with his mama, or live in who's living in an uninitiated life, right? Who represents the hood? And let's be real. What is that type of environment breed? Savagery. Come on, man. We got to stop acting like we live in a utopia in America. What does the hood represent? Exactly. Savagery. So if the hood represents savagery, and we know that savage behavior happened in the hood, and we know love doesn't grow in the hood, anymore. Back in the day, it did. We all loved each other. We did it. Them days are gone. So we know love doesn't grow in the hood anymore. We know for a fact that if you smart, you got out of there and you did what you needed to do. You grew up in it, but then you got out and you went the other way. What woman in her sane mind would actually entertain that unless she is a successful woman, unless she has low self-esteem? What woman would want that, bro? So you saying the Pookies don't deserve love? Bro, I don't know what a Pookie is, but I'll tell you this. I'm saying this. If you still stay in the hood, you're in your 30s or whatever, and you know for a fact that ain't nothing grows up in there, and you still in it, and you still there, and you still having a mindset of whatever, think about it, man. I want you to think about this for a second. And I see what you're saying, but I want you to see this for a second. What man in his right mind will go live with a woman and he ain't owning nothing? What man, man? What man is going to wake up in the morning and live with a woman, right? She got house, she got everything established, and think that that's going to make sense. And you're not suspect of that? Look, I've lived with 2 women in my life. Let me use me. He said, are you talking about yourself? Yes, I am talking about me too. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Washington, D.C., born and raised. I'm born and raised from Washington, D.C., right? The last time I lived in the hood was over 30 years ago, right? It took me 30 years to be where I'm at, right? I moved up out of the hood. I left. I went in the military, and I made something for myself. So think about it. I want you to think about this, and I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, but I'm about to hurt y'all feelings. You think about it. A woman sits here, and she gets in the hood, in the same environment you grew up in, saying whatever she grew up, and then all of a sudden she say, I got to get the hell out of here, and she mash on the gas to become successful. She mash on the gas to become successful. She make it out. She buy her first home. She go out here and buy a nice car. She do nice for herself. I need you to think about this, brother, for you to so you can understand, so you stop being mad at women. Because a lot of you have a lot of fear and a lot of frustration to women. So you think about this. She done got out here. She done mashed on the gas. She done got the degree. She done did all of this. She did it. She grew up in the same hood that you grew up in. Same hood that you grew up in. You think that she not looking at you like you're a problem? And you telling me that she woke up one day and she decided to go back to the hood and deal with a dude who's uninitiated? Make that make sense to me, brother. That's a woman with low self-esteem. Why would you do that? Being the same person. Now, building together. Okay, me and my ex-wife, we built together. We had nothing. We grew up, we had nothing, right? We built together. But here's the deal. I had my foot on life's neck. I was in college. I knew that I was a special ed kid, so I knew I had learning disabilities, right? So I knew that I had learning disabilities. So I got every services that I needed to do to make me successful. I didn't make no excuses for nothing. I never cried about a motherfucking thing. I never freaking folded. I never ran from nothing. So when I went to college, let me help you out for something, because I see what you write. Let me help you out. I'm not getting offended, whatever, brother, but I want you to understand what women see. I went to college for my associates and my bachelor's. I used my associates to get me into my bachelor's. While I was in there, I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees. I used the credits for one bachelor's degrees to apply for another. Then, while I was in that bachelor's degree, I was going for my master's degree, because I completed one bachelor's degree, which gave me the credits to go for my master's degree. You don't believe me? Go on my page and you will see 2013, 2012 in a master's degree. That's because I used one bachelor's degree to get there, and I grind to get a degree in business ethics and compliance. So why, if I'm being there, he said, so you saying you're a woman? You can call me a woman, brother. I don't care. If that's a woman, then fine. Because who the fuck want to be broke? So if I'm sitting here and think about it, if a woman sits and goes and says, hey, look, look, I need a man to go do this. I need a man to do that. And she says, I'm going to end up going with this guy who has not tapped into his potential. You trying to tell me that's not low self-esteem? This man is just taught. Doesn't have a notebook, doesn't have a book in his hand, don't have nothing writing up, no journal or nothing else saying that he's going to do anything. He's just talking. And he's talking to try to convince her to buy into his dream. Women do, yes, women do that as well to you, brother. But you asked me about men. Yeah. So why is it? See, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Why would she want that? Women have the gift of vanity, bro. They can be vain. It's their gift. God gave them that. He gave them beauty. Women, there's no creature on this planet more beautiful than a woman. So he gave them vanity, right? So her vanity didn't activate. Her vanity didn't activate. So I am not dealing with this dude. This dude has no job, has no whatever. He says, my wife dated me while I was unemployed with no job. Okay, so, but soon as I got up, she wanted a divorce. So he's right. Do you know what I mean? I'm right. I know that. Because women prey on men like you. The reason why she would get, listen, my cousin, I'm 48 years of age. My cousin is 46. 46. He's never had a job. He's never had a job. His wife works for one of the top law firms, and she's been working there for one of the top law firms in DC. He's never had a job, and they've been married for 30 years. 30 years, he's never had a job. I'm going to let people up in a minute. I'm about to shut it down, man, because I got to get up in the morning. Yeah, we'll continue this tomorrow, man. He says you want to talk. Okay, you can see me tomorrow, man, when y'all open it up tomorrow. We continue this tomorrow. All right, so thank y'all so much, man. Hey, I appreciate you for letting me come up here. I'm gonna chop it up with the TikTok family real quick. If you want to come over to TikTok and chop it up, you're welcome to. Thank y'all so much. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. I'm gonna try to fix these things this weekend. So make sure everything is straight. So I appreciate y'all for coming up here, man. I really appreciate y'all for supporting me. Thank you for allowing me to be in your stream and to come in. Hopefully we can do this again. I'll see if I can get Kari to come up here and talk, right? And get you here. But let me go over there and talk to my people, right? Peace.